To also speak to the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, it is rare that I am so passionate about legislation that affects our education system as I am with strict district academies. School academy or juvenile prison. I was able to visit two, one in Vassar and one in Highland Park. Each had a population comprised of 70% Black children, ages 10 through 17, but that's where the similarities ended. One was supported by their community and their intermediate school district. One had a proactive education program that supported matriculating the children back into society. It was an open campus with freedom for the children to walk around and interact with each other. The other one had 10 to 15 feet barbed wire fencing around it with active COVID cases. With only 12 children from the community doesn't support the juvenile prison, and that's what I found it to be. I found it interesting that the school board president didn't support authorizing this prison either. The ISD would not authorize it, and Central Michigan University wouldn't reauthorize it. The proposed authorizing entity is a struggling K through 8. With the community, the ISD, CMU, and most importantly, 3 of the 7-member school boards voting against this facility, one would ask, what's the rush? The Lincoln Center knew that they had compliance issues in February 2021. They knew CMU would not reauthorize them. Why did they wait until the last minute to rush legislation through? I kind of wish this was the same attitude we had when we swiftly dissolved Inkster and Buena Vista. I kind of wish this was the same attitude we had when we put Pontiac on the chopping block and tried to get Benton Harbor. I wish we had the same type of empathy when we totally destroyed Detroit public schools and made this new thing called DPSCD, okay? As one of my colleagues in this room stated, public schools do not have the funding that this academy has to remediate these children. Well, this K through 8 is a public school. So I scratched my head and said, where is the funding coming from? Okay? As a former school board member whose interest is in educating all children, I feel our children, Black children, can be educated without being placed in a facility with active COVID cases that the community that is in the facility is in doesn't support. I'd like to thank Representatives Whiteford and Green for taking me up to Vassar, to showing me the Wolverine Center. It's a humane center where children who are struggling with their identity, struggling with their life, can have an opportunity, a real opportunity, to come back into society. If it wasn't for that trip, I would not have a comparison to what the horror that I saw in the Lincoln Center. And I encourage everyone in this room to go to the Lincoln Center and ask yourself, would my child or my grandchildren, if they show up like the policy says, the reason they get in there is because these kids show up, would I want my child to be in the Lincoln Center? Black children need equitable chances to learn and return to society whole, not be scarred for life. Lest today, in the children's juvenile to adult prison pipeline, because that's all it is, I strongly ask everyone in this room to vote no on House Bill 4945. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.